What if everything you've ever done, every decision, every failure, every moment you thought defined you, wasn't really you? Not in the sci-fi we live in a simulation kind of way, but in a far more disturbing sense. That your morality, your sense of good and evil, might not belong to you at all. What if it was installed, shaped by fear, by culture, by comfort? What if you're not good, you're just untested? And if no one was watching, who would you become? That's the spine of one of the most haunting experiments in philosophy. An experiment that doesn't ask you to doubt the world. It asks you to doubt yourself. Let's begin. It's 1967. Philosopher Philippa Foot presents a scenario that will haunt ethics forever. Later refined by Judith Jarvis Thomson, it became a legend. The trolley problem. You're standing by a railway track. A trolley is out of control, thundering toward 5 people tied down on the tracks. They can't move. They will die. But near you, there's a lever. If you pull it, the trolley will switch to another track, where one single person stands unaware. 1 life to save 5. Would you pull it? Almost everyone says yes. It's painful, but logical. 5 lives outweigh 1. It's grim mathematics, a cost-benefit equation of morality. But the experiment doesn't end there, because this is just the first test. Now the scenario changes. You're standing on a footbridge overlooking the tracks. The trolley is racing again toward the same 5 helpless people. Beside you stands a large man. If you push him off the bridge, his body will stop the trolley. He'll die, but the 5 will live. Do you push him? Now, almost everyone hesitates. Why? The math is identical. 1 life for 5. The result is the same, the outcome equally good. But something inside screams no, because now you're not switching paths. You're using someone. You become the cause, not the bystander. And in that tiny difference lies the entire battlefield of human morality. The philosophy behind the panic. You've just walked into the war between 2 moral empires. On one side, utilitarianism. It says the right thing is what creates the greatest good for the greatest number. 5 over 1? Simple. Mathematical. Rational. It says some actions are wrong, no matter what they achieve. Killing an innocent person is always wrong, even if it saves 5. Both seem logical. Both claim to defend morality. But they cannot coexist peacefully. Because one asks, what's the best outcome? And the other asks, what kind of person must I become to achieve it? And right there, in that tension, the human soul begins to unravel. The shadow you didn't know you had. Most people leave the trolley problem thinking, I'm a decent person. I do the right thing. But that's the trap. Because this experiment doesn't test your intelligence. It tests your comfort with moral violence. It forces you to see something buried. That inside you, inside all of us, lives a part that can weigh a life like currency. You don't want to see it, but it's there. That's the shadow. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because if you're willing to push one person to their death for a noble cause, what else could you justify? How many lines could you cross if the reason felt righteous enough? History is full of people who believed they were saving the world and burned it instead. That's why philosophers feared the trolley problem. Not because it was violent, but because it made the soul calculable. If your ethics depend on circumstance, if your morality bends with logic, if you can justify anything by outcome, then what are you? A moral machine? A set of algorithms pretending to have a conscience? What happens to compassion when it turns into a math problem? What happens to conscience when it bends to convenience? It's easy to talk about ethics when the stakes are imaginary. It's easy to say, I do the right thing when your hands are clean. But that's the horror. Every moral choice carries a price tag of guilt. And whether you pull the lever or not, you pay something. Do you carry the guilt of killing one? Or the guilt of letting 5 die? Which pain can your soul survive? Maybe morality isn't about being right at all. Maybe it's about choosing the guilt you can live with. That's what the trolley problem truly is. Not a test of ethics, but a mirror. It reflects you back to yourself. The parts of you you'd rather not see. Part that can rationalize. The part that can stay silent. The part that believes being good is the same as being untested. When you stare into that mirror, something breaks. Because morality stops being a set of rules and becomes a haunting question. Who are you without the rules? The trolley problem reveals the courtroom inside your mind. A silent trial that never ends. Every day, you act as your own prosecutor, judge, and jury. You justify. You rationalize. You forgive yourself selectively. You build narratives that make you the hero, even when you're not. The thought experiment tears all of that apart. It asks you, stripped of applause, stripped of approval, what kind of human remains when nobody's watching? Would you still do good if it cost you something? Would you stand for what's right if there was no reward? No validation, no audience? We live in an age obsessed with being seen as good. Social virtue is now a performance. Likes, shares, hashtags, public outrage. But the trolley problem doesn't care how moral you look. It only listens to the choices you'd make in silence. And silence is terrifying because it exposes who you really are. Not the version you post, not the role you play, but the creature behind the curtain, the one capable of both love and cruelty. Philosophers called it the moral paradox. The idea that good and evil aren't opposites, but neighbors in the same house. You can't be truly good until you understand how easy it is not to be. Every civilization builds rules to contain this darkness. Religion, law, social norms, they keep the human heart from collapsing into chaos. But the trolley problem exposes the truth behind all of them. We are capable of reasoning our way into anything. Every atrocity in history began with a greater good. Every cruelty wore the mask of logic. Because once morality becomes math, compassion dies quietly in the corner, and you're left with a world full of people doing harm while convincing themselves they're saving others. So what if you were alone? No cameras, no judgment, no audience. What if you were the only witness to your own decision? Would you pull the lever? Would you push the man? Would you stand frozen doing nothing while the trolley screams forward? Whatever your answer, that's your truth. That's who you are when the world stops watching. That's why the trolley problem endures. It isn't a test of logic. It's a confrontation with your shadow. It shows that morality isn't a destination. It's a war between guilt and conscience that never ends. You don't solve the trolley problem. You live with it. You carry it into every small decision. Every time you hurt someone's feelings for honesty, every time you stay silent to keep the peace, every time you choose comfort over truth, each of those is a lever. Each is a track. Each reveals who you are becoming. So here's the question you can't escape. When no one is watching, when there's no applause, no judgment, no witness, who would you become? Would you still be good if goodness cost you? Would you still be kind if kindness had no reward? Would you still do right if no one ever knew? That's the silence the philosophers feared. The silence that shows you yourself. Because in that silence, the world disappears, and only you remain. And the lever is still there, waiting